Hello, everybody, and welcome to this very special hurricane live stream demo. Whether you're a customer with us or whether you are just finding out about D4H, welcome. My name is Billy. I'm an emergency management solutions specialist here at D4H. For those that don't know what D4H is, we are a comprehensive emergency management software company. Our whole spiel and what you're going to see throughout the demo today is that we are uncomplicated emergency management. We make it easy, we make it slick, we make it really straightforward, and hopefully you'll see that through the demo today. Now, I will add in the demo, I do have a few special little tidbits, some bells and whistles that kind of show you the full advanced capability of our software, but the software truly is for everyone. Now, I did know that we did phrase this as a Q&A today, so I do have a complete agenda. I have items I'm going to go through. However, if you have any questions, any capabilities you want to see, pop them in the chat, and I'll be more than happy to prioritize them throughout the demo today. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be jumping into this demo here. And what you're seeing is our incident management platform known as our Operations Center. Now, this platform here is where you're going to manage your virtual EOC, your response, your operations, your planning, your preparedness. It covers all the bases and what you need to know to run any sort of emergency in an efficient fashion. Now, usually when I run demos, I have it completely blank. There's not a lot going on, but today I have a lot of preloaded information to show you the real key highlights of running a hurricane-like scenario or response in your agency. Now, of course, if I were to click new here before jumping into our actual hurricane example, we have something called a playbook, and these are plays. So imagine you're like a coach dishing out a play to figure out what you want to do next. These are completely synonymous with your pre-plans. Everything I wrote here is completely customizable, tailorable. You can edit the descriptions, add in your own tiles, your own icons, your own categories, your own types, your incidents, your hazards, you name it. And the whole purpose of this playbook here is that when you click a button, it'll automatically preload in all of your content. So that's what I did by creating the coastal storm little tile up here and creating the hurricane live stream demo. I also want to mention that at the map up top here, you'll be able to see all of your incidents on a wide screen. So you see here that I have this hurricane located on the East Coast here, specifically in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Let's jump into this demo here. And keep in mind, this demo has been running for about 30 minutes or so. That's just because I wanted to make sure our technology looked good. It worked well. I got all my stuff loaded in. But, you know, mistakes happen. If anything happens throughout this demo, you'll see it live and we'll work through it together. What you are immediately brought to here is our dashboard. And again, keeping in mind, uncomplicated, completely personalizable. You can change and edit anything. And we're going to jump back to this dashboard, but I want to bring us to our incident summary to start. And again, if you have any questions, anything I skipped over, any details you want to see, just drop it in your question and answer in the chat. What you see with our incident summary, this is very similar to an ICS, an Incident Command System 201 offshoot, right? Your incident briefing. Now, I already set the location, which means we can actually already get live time weather reports from our software for the specific incident location. So if I quickly peek at this widget up here, we got a lot of excessive heat watches going on for the East Coast, but down below you see our metrics here for weather reporting. So you can see live weather, you have your incident, everything is up to date. Now, I have it at the center here and just some random intersection in Atlantic City, but the purpose of this map is, again, to establish that full situational awareness, that common operating picture, to have all that decision-making information at your fingertips. Now, what I'm also going to show you is that this software, as previously stated, is ridiculously easy to function and update and type in information. So, for example, in this box below here that I added to this form, I can write in the description, we have a hurricane coming to our location. Now, again, your agency might do something differently. You might have a more robust narrative or description, but again, for the demo, we're just playing with dummy data here. I can tab out, and now that description is locked into our incident. If I want to set a command center, maybe an EOC location, I can just click. I can also add in an address. And of course, If you press that bullseye, it'll bring you to your actual location if you have location services enabled in your browser. And again, for those that aren't familiar with D4H here, our software is completely by browser. There is no additional download or install, with the exception of our mobile applications if you ever wanted to have D4H in your pocket in the field. But when I establish this command center location, you see it pop on the map right here, an instantaneous application of information that you're entering. And again, I'm just clicking buttons, nothing wild, no crazy magic. It's just click and play. Same thing with the staging area. In addition to just pinging and pressing and setting your locations, you can also add additional geometries throughout your map. So here, for example, if I wanted to maybe say that all of our resources for this hurricane are going to be located right next to our command center, I'm going to draw a little circle to indicate that we're going to want all of our resources to go here. And you're going to see it appear on the map right there. Now, of course, we can enter in operational periods and our start and end dates. So again, if you want to track incident action planning, scheduling shifts, you have that capability. But the other feature that I want to focus is that, of course, with the software being so slick and so quick, what if somebody makes a change? What if we edit a description or somebody pops in and changes the date or the narrative of our incident? Well, we have a fully automated audit. And so as you see here, for the incident that you are currently looking at, every single change that I've made has already been logged automatically in our system. And this can be completely exported as well. Now, to show you how that is so quickly updated, if I were to edit this description saying the hurricane is progressing in strength, you can see that down below here where my little video is, and I'm going to ask Amy, our marketing manager here, to kind of move me over so I can zoom in just a little bit. And you can see that right here, I made this exact change in this location at this time. So again, tracking changes, editing the entire software, entering in information, it's just a click of a button and you're ready to play. Now, as we go back to the other items that are present in this demonstration, keep in mind that everything that I added here was preloaded in. I selected what status boards, what forms, what items, what map layers, anything that we want in this software, I pre-planned it to be put into this incident so that when it happens, we're ready to go from the launch. And I'll focus on that in a few minutes. But we're going to keep on progressing down through our incident. Now, we established our incident summary. Before I touch on the roles and the forms and we start building out a lot more about our demo here, I'm going to focus on the map because mapping is very important when we're tracking a hurricane track or any sort of storm track or weather indication. And our map is very flexible to allow you to do that. Whether you tie in a live feed from your external mapping system or you import shape files or images or any sort of layers from external resources. Now, what you'll notice in my layers section over here, I already have 2 layers from Hurricane Sandy back in 2012. And I just pulled these from the National Hurricane Center website and downloaded those shape files from that specific time. So keep in mind, any shape files, importing layers of anything, it's just as simple as downloading it from the website and uploading it into our software. And to kind of feature that upload process, in the import-export section of our map, when I import a layer, again, you see that I preloaded these, but we can also add a fresh file. Now, because these map layers are preloaded in, when we're thinking about hurricane tracking and how it's going to impact our facilities, our people, our resources, when I click both of these layers, we're going to start with the cone first, and I'm going to zoom out, and you're going to see that now we have a full cone. You can see where that hurricane is headed. Now, what if I wanted to up it just a little more to the actual track? It'll automatically put down different markers to show you the exact track of this hurricane. Now, of course, every shape file is going to be different. It may not be as clean cut as this one. But the point remains that, again, just by uploading files or shape files or downloading, you get a full situational picture of how this hurricane track is going to actually impact your entire city or your agency. And of course, all of these different pings and colors, they can all be customized and changed to your liking. So for example, maybe the Esri imagery with labels is not your cup of tea. You can change it to a dark gray feature. You can also change it to maybe a topographic map. So you have a lot of options to customize and view all of your situational information in this map. Now, I'm not going to spend too much more time on this map since we already reviewed the geometry and the bullseye for where we're located and fitting it on our screen. But again, I want you to keep in mind that all these layers are completely just customizable, extremely easy to add in. And I'm not trying to hide anything by not showing you the live example, but truly it's as simple as uploading a document and applying it to your map. So a lot of variability there. Now that we have our map here, and again, feel free to jump in with any questions at any time if any capabilities, items, examples are really piquing your interest, but I'm gonna keep chugging through our agenda here. Let's bring it back to roles. Now, of course, now that we established our complete operating picture, our situational awareness, we're thinking about staffing the EOC, or maybe just your command center or your command post, any sort of area that you're going to be having your staff or resources come in. And again, for a hurricane, you might be planning out this event 72 hours before the actual drop of a storm. This incident can be started at any point throughout that time to be able to add in staff, either preloaded or ad hoc. Let's say you have people coming in last minute, you need to up your staffing, you have resources coming in from mutual aid from other states or other cities. There's a lot of options here. Now, to show you the difference between the preloaded staff and the ad hoc staff, I'm going to actually briefly switch to personnel here because you just see me and my buddy Power Automate. That'll be a topic for later discussion when we focus on the status boards, but just mentioning that there. I already have some preloaded personnel in here. Now, of course, we have Robin, our CEO. We have Mario, our CTO. We have Marie Hunt, our implementation program manager, and GP, our customer service extraordinaire. So these are all people in D4H that I preloaded into our system that I can add to this incident. Same thing can be for your agency. You have preloaded staff, positions, roles. You can really jump into the nitty-gritty and granularity of pre-assigning all of these options. So I can just simply click on all of these individuals, and although they know I'm giving a demo right now, they will be notified, and I'll probably hear about it later, but that's the fun of running a demo. And they're going to be imported into our software. Now, keep in mind the green button meaning they're online, the gray button meaning they're offline. Maybe one of them will pop in, who knows? But as we continue to move with our staffing pattern, I preloaded in all of these teams and all of these roles. And you see here that my staff I just loaded in are going to be unassigned. But we have ESF structures, we have incident command teams, anything from ICS. Keep in mind that although I imported all of these teams from my collections here, you can also add a brand new team, add blank here, and I can just write demo team for hurricane. And now, down below here, I have a demo team already entered into my system that everybody can edit and play with. And adding roles, again, I can just add in demo role for hurricane, and they're going to have the exact same capability of adding staff and applying it to our system. So that was a brief feature of ad hoc, but let's dive in a little bit deeper. So up here, let's say Deputy Incident Commander, I'm going to put Robin, our CEO. If I want to go into the PIO, I'm going to add in Marie. And for a safety officer, I'm going to add in GP. And again, all you're seeing me do is just click, drag, drop. There's really no crazy functionality. There's no code to it. There's no extra steps. Truly, anybody who is a novice at a computer to have never touched a phone before can really easily just click buttons and create your entire picture at ridiculous speed and ease. Now, of course, they're all going to get notified that they are now assigned to this incident because they have their emails connected in the system. But sometimes when we're adding in ad hoc employees or staff, they may not have their email. Now, keep in mind when you add in those types of items, we always want to think about contact information and how we're going to contact them. Again, very simple to integrate emails and phone numbers, but for the purpose of this demo, just want to focus on the functionality. So let's say, just as a random person, add new, we just have Mr. John Smith walking into our EOC. And now John Smith is going to be our liaison officer. So John Smith, although he wasn't a part of our original staff, I can just add him in, And I can also change out all these individuals as shifts progress throughout the entire length of a hurricane or any sort of massive storm or incident that goes on for multiple days. Now, another fun fact is, what is Incident Command System without a lovely org chart? So there's a lot of different avenues to view these staff, whether it was in that tabular function or in the org chart. So again, with the org chart being fully collaborative, you can drag and drop boxes to create your entire org chart with ease. So again, I'm just dragging in all these individuals really quite randomly and not really too pretty. But again, it is very straightforward. And if I drag in a blank box here, Planning Section Chief, I can again assign someone, or I can add in a new one. Let's just assign Mario since he's there. And now when I go over here, Mario is going to be present in Planning Section Chief. I believe I said Larry because I read Larry French in the chat, but let's review this question from Larry. They're a way to pre-identify your common response team and their common roles. So with just a few clicks, I can pre-populate the chart based on who I expect for the staff. Absolutely. So what we're going to do now is we're going to briefly change gears to the admin area. This is where you're going to customize and load in everything that you need to have that one-click functionality of preloading all your roles and your visuals. So if I go to the admin area here in my collections, I have personnel, but then I also have personnel roles. And although you won't see these changes because I've already preloaded in a lot of these teams, let's say I were to open up the incident command here and I were to edit. Actually, let me jump into this form. You can see that I have the assignee of myself here. So if you add in these roles, you can just add in these people to their form in the admin area. And then when you log this role in the actual incident, they will already be pre-assigned. So there go your roles, there go your people, where you can click a button and everybody's already pre-assigned. Now, in terms of org charts, same exact thing. You can upload your own org chart or create a new org chart right here, where again, you can pre-populate anything that you need. So let's say I want to pre-populate an org chart of just the planning section, because again, nothing is really connected at this time, but again, showing you the functionality that you can preload and Am I back on? All right, there we go. I'm back on. Looks like my Wi-Fi hicked up there for a second there. We're going to go back into loading in that org chart, planning section demo for hurricane. It is now saved. Org chart list. We have this org chart. And now if I go back to the hurricane live stream demo, we're going to see that if I go into the org chart and let me import from my collections, planning section demo for hurricane. Oh, am I still frozen? Oh, okay, great. Thank you, Amy. Is the screen also up to date? Okay, great. Looks like we got some freezes in the chat as well. What I'll do, and hopefully it'll catch up and hopefully it can still be shown post-recording so we can stay on schedule here. I created that org chart from scratch and I'm importing it, and it'll replace my current org chart. And now we can see that that planning section one that I just built is already in there. Great. Thank you, Scott, for that update. Larry, hopefully that answered your question. Long story short, yes, absolutely. You can preload common roles and pre-made org charts. Thank you all for dealing with that freeze. Looks like, Anne, you're still in the dark. Hopefully it'll come back soon. But while we are going through this demo, we're going to keep going on. And also, just a reminder that if you saw that I was temporarily offline, everything's still saved. I was still able to operate in the demo itself, which is great when you're thinking about austere environments where you may not have connection. Our software also works in that capacity. So let's keep on moving on from roles. Again, unless anyone has a separate question or wants to review that function, I'm more than happy to go back. But let's carry on to our forms. And this is where we're going to get into a little bit more customization. So what we're going to do is I've already preloaded an IAP. You can organize your IAPs by folders or incident action plans. Now, you can also just do standalone forms, but I've already preloaded in a few incident command system forms. Now, with all of these forms, we have something called extension packs in D4H. And I've created a few new ones recently, such as the Community Lifelines extension pack and the Continuity of Operations extension pack. But then also, our main man GP created the Hospital Incident Command System forms and an extension pack. And these extension packs being, you can go to our website, you can download these packs and easily upload them into your own software. So we have pre-made templates all ready for your disposal to import into your own system. Because keep in mind, I didn't make 40 different ICS forms. That would have been a lot of time as an emergency manager. So by pre-creating it, we allow you to just import and apply immediately. So with all these ICS forms, if I open up the 201 form here, again, very similar functionality. And let me load in the org chart. You can just type in to the different fields and you can edit information very simply. As you see, I just loaded in our org chart from our preloaded planning section demo. But then also I can just write, do this, do that, and do something. And it's going to automatically save. Now, we also offer electronic signatures, so you can sign these forms in our software as well, and a lot of other data fields. But in terms of information sharing, we have a few options. You can either print it to a PDF, you can take a snapshot that'll then be documented in your forms to see what the form looked like at a specific time. You can share it by email with no extra steps in terms of logging in or access. And then you can also share by public link. And welcome back. So with these sharing options, you have a lot of ability to not worry about everyone having specific access or any sort of login or any sort of writing. One big folly or obstacle in emergency management is when I'm trying to share information, let's say even something as simple as Microsoft Teams, people need to have email access or log in or have some sort of permission profile to get into the actual information. But imagine if it was just simpler, we can provide them a one-way link or copy of this document that you don't need to necessarily worry about that permission obstacle to work more efficiently and quickly. So what we're going to do on my screen is I'm going to share by public link. And usually at this point in a more intimate demo, I would share this link with the customer and then you'd click it and you'd be able to see and play and take a look at it at your own. But given this demo that I'm just kind of giving a live stream, I'm going to copy this link. Oh, great. Actually, we're going to have Amy do it for us. I'm going to share it with Amy, and Amy is going to share it in the chat or in the comments. But if you want to follow along, if you copy and paste that URL, you're going to see that form completely uploaded into your browser. And keep in mind, the logos and whatnot, they can all be customized as well. Now, the best part about this form is sharing. Hey, GP, thank you for the support there. The best part about this form is that any changes you make will just push automatically with the refresh of that URL. So let's say I sign this document and now I've locked it as an incident commander. So no one else can edit it but me. Although, of course, we do have that revert function if you want to be able to edit it in the future. If I go back to our form here and I refresh that same URL, that signature just appeared down below. So similarly, how our changes happen instantaneously in the actual incident management software, it is replicated on that form through that URL, through the one-way sharing. And this is great when you're thinking about in a hurricane setting, you need to broadcast information, whether on social media or in your EOC or on a large TV screen. It can be as simple as sharing a link or sending an email with no extra steps. Now, let's tie in some options of this hurricane specifically. When we are thinking about status boards, this is where we get operational, right? We start to focus on the details of evacuation shelters, resource requests, if we have transportation alerts, if we have community lifelines. This is how you're going to track that information at a really phenomenally granular level. Now, before I jump into any specific details of our status boards, I really want to highlight the MTA alerts. Now, in New York City, MTA being the Metro Transit Authority, the subway system. We've heard a lot from customers about API or application program interfacing integrations. A lot of pre-existing agencies have a lot of external software that you want to tie into D4H. Now, sometimes it can be as simple as uploading a CSV or a spreadsheet to our software, but sometimes there may require some extra code in terms of connecting an API to our software. And that's what we did here, working with the CTO, Mario, and he developed this API for me. But this pulls from the lifetime updates of the Metro Transit Authority in New York City through their application program interface. Now, although we don't need to worry about the extreme weedy details, the one thing that I'll mention is that we developed this code on Power Automate by Microsoft. If you noticed, I ran this code about, what time is it now? About an hour ago at 11:30 in preparation for this demo. And it's just a very simple logic flow of connecting an external API, connecting it to the incident, and then publishing that information into our incident here. So all I did was press run after some coding. Again, it may take a few extra steps and some guidance in, let's say, our article center or maybe our YouTube videos. But with that API, I'm able to pull in live information from what is happening in the actual city or of the location of preference. So I just wanted to really highlight this and show you that it is possible as a customer who may not be comfortable with coding or connecting APIs. It can really be made simple through a combination of different items that allow you to publish an information and tie it into our software. Because again, we're all about uncomplication and also maintaining that situation awareness and common operating picture. Now, let's switch gears a little bit. With a hurricane, maybe we want to track the shelters and maybe people. And what we're going to do is I'm going to kind of show you a combination of customization, data upload, but also that kind of real-time application of if you need to upload shelters or information or track items throughout the duration of an incident. If I go to hurricane evacuation shelters, this is a pre-made board that I created specifically for this demo. Now, what I can do is I can always add a shelter from scratch. As such, I can just write test shelter, and I can set a status, open, and it'll be conditionally formatted, and then I can add in location and everything else to it. But the whole purpose of the status board and why I created it and why I wanted to show you is that how easy it is to integrate information from a static sheet. Let's say you're tracking everything right now in Excel sheets or CSVs or just by hand. To put it into the software is, again, clicking buttons. So if I import here, we can see that I already preloaded a lot of shelters in New York City. And I got this from Open Data NYC. So again, you have a lot of options of just connecting a lot of different data sources to your agency. But what fun is it without showing an actual document upload? So I pre-scrubbed a CSV, which you're going to see me integrate into this demo. So I'm going to upload my evacuation shelter CSV that I pulled from documents online very easily. And now what I'm going to do is I pre-created a form in the status board to match up different items in the CSV. So for example, we know we have shelter name. We know we have a location. And I'm also going to line up the longitude and the latitude to show you how quickly it is to add in geographic information to our system. I'm going to import it right here. And once it is importing, you're going to see all these shelters populate. I have 64 shelters, but you also saw this little ping up here instantaneously. I have 64 mapped shelters already at my disposal in the incident system. And all you saw me do was upload a CSV and click a button. Now, obviously, of course, there's some prep that goes into it, such as aligning the fields, as you saw me do with the upload. But I mean, it's nothing wild. You truly just match up the fields, create those columns. It's a breeze. If we're to go into a specific shelter here, we have this queen shelter. All this information, this form here, can all be customized and classified. So again, if I update the status, let's say on standby, if you notice that color coordination carries over, but then also you can enter in information just the same. Now, one thing that I'll add is, let's say we want to start to track people. Now we can create a people board from scratch, and let's run through that together since we do have a good chunk of time left in this demo. And what we're going to do is we're going to create this customizable board and connect it to the shelters, because the whole purpose of hurricanes, right? We have our shelters, but maybe we have a pretty decently sized community where we want to track, where are these people going? What shelters are they being assigned to? So I'm going to show you a really simple way of just creating that integration and relationship in our software without any extra code. You don't have to rely on us to create it for you. It'll just be available and really simple to integrate into your own software. So we're going to pop back to this admin area. In the admin area, I'm going down to our templates because that's what we're going to be referencing every single incident. And I have status boards. So you're going to see every single status board that I own in this system. You saw the MTA alerts. That was one example. You see the hurricane evacuation shelters. That's another example. But let's create a status board from fresh. Now, keep in mind, everything you see with the status board, the functionality is extremely similar to those forms that I previously showed. So if I were to go back to the ICS 201 and add in new fields or edit that ICS template, it's going to be the exact same functionality as you're going to see here. So new status board, and let's say we're going to write evacuation people tracker, something really simple. We're going to load up an icon. I'm just going to make it a person, and we're going to rename this name field as person name, because I want to make sure that we're tracking the actual demographics of this individual and where they're going. And keep in mind, although it does go without saying, we have varying permission profiles in our software. So if you want to protect HIPAA, if you want to protect demographics, any sort of sensitive information, you have that ability to lock it down to just be viewed by a certain amount of people. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a section. And again, I'm just clicking buttons. It's almost as simple as Google Forms by just clicking and specifying different types of data. And I'm going to write person name. Actually, my apologies. Person name is already going to be added, but we're going to add, let's say, age, and we're going to make that a number. And although you can't see the drop down, keep in mind when you drop down, you have a ton of options to choose from data types such as date and time, email, checkboxes, option selection, location, so on and so forth. Going to click number because we are going to have an age. I'm just going to write years as the suffix. Let's say we write gender, and let's make it an option selection. So we have male, we have female, and we have non-binary. And although there are greater conditional formattings that you saw when the whole thing turned orange or the whole thing turned green, we can also do individual coloring here. And I'm just going to use these colors as such. And press add. Great. The other options that I'm going to add is now we want to track this individual connected to the hurricane shelters. What shelters are they going to go to? So I'm going to create a relationship field here where we're going to write hurricane shelter location. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to write shelter, and I'm going to select the relationship field. And what this is going to allow me to do is create my own logic and understanding of how I want to create this shelter and how I want to connect it to the individual. So I can write person to shelter, because that's what we're doing, right? We're tracking a person going to a shelter. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect it to hurricane evacuation shelters status board. And you see that populated here. Now, before I press save, I did just want to review that you can add some more advanced options, such as if maybe there is a specific medical condition, or they come with a pet, or they need to be ADA accessible, you can add specific statuses to allow that to change color to indicate that more clearly on your status board. So for example, let's say I want to add a field here saying accessible with a question mark. And I want to write as an option, we want to do yes, and we want to do no. Now, instead of doing the individual coloring, I'm going to copy this variable, and I'm going to write warning, accessible equals yes. And I just want to verify that I get this conditional formatting correct. So I'm going to actually activate our help center in this call. And Amy, you might need to move my video as I pull up the chat box in the lower right-hand side here. But what we're going to do is set status expressions. And again, you're seeing me type into a help center. This may be something very applicable to using your software, since I'm not even an expert, although I'm running this live stream. Mistakes will always happen. So what we're going to do is I'm going to type in the status expressions, setting colors with status expressions. That's what we want to do. We want to notify that if someone has an accessible need, we want to see that really clearly in the status board. Setting colors with status expressions. And I'm going to scroll down and copy this code here. Now, status is just generic. We want to focus on accessible because that's the variable that we're focusing on. I'm going to copy that part of the code to make sure I have it correct. And I'm going to substitute no damage for yes. And then I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to do it for no. And now let's press save. Now, just to make sure, we have two ways here. Before we go back to the incident, I want to have a list of people at a specific shelter when they go there. So let me save it one more time. Great. Go back to status boards, hurricane evacuation shelters, and very similarly, what I'm going to add below is people at the shelter. So again, I'm going to add a relationship field, list of individuals. I'm going to select that relationship, and it's going to say shelter of, oh no, it's going to say, what was the variable? People to shelter, because we're going to connect these two boards together, and we're going to pull from evacuation people tracker. Great. So let's go back to our incident. Now, if you notice, I have a full list of individuals here, and it's a drop down. So I can already add people to the shelter. Let's say you're at the shelter, you're tracking people, you could do it that way. Or if you're evacuating from another building and you want to track people retroactively, you can also do so as well. So I'm going to load in our brand new status board, evacuation people tracker. And if you've noticed, didn't refresh anything, nothing changed. The changes happened simultaneously and instantaneously. So I have an evacuation people tracker. I'm going to, you know what I'm going to do? Let me go back. Stay with me. I know I'm kind of bopping around places, but I forgot to edit this little bar up here so we can see more information about the individuals. So if I go back to our people tracker under our status boards, and then I'm going to go down here and add in the views. This is actually a little bit new setup that I am not familiar with here. All items, grouping property, name. Perfect. We're going to do age, we're going to do gender, and we're going to do accessible. And why not? Let's just add in everything. Press save. Perfect. So now when I go back, did that not save all items? Date created. We're going to group by accessibility. And we're going to save. Okay, let's try that one more time. Try that one more time here. Let's say default view. And we're going to do age, gender, shelter, and accessible. And let's save here. I am a little bit confused. I am not used to this new layout. I don't know if Amy, you can provide me some assistance, or if GP is in the chat. This is a little bit new because what we had previously was there was a little bar here that you can just drag in those different fields. So this is also new for me as we're learning this together. Actually, let me see if maybe the help center has something. And we're going to do list view settings. Great, Amy, thank you so much for getting back to me. We'll give it a few minutes. Configure default sorting, grouping, and such. Add an area, templates, status boards, icon, list view settings. Let me go down here to list view settings, and we have name, built-in views. Maybe I just try to refresh. Let's see what happens there. There we go. All right, we got there. It's just a little bit delayed. So now we see those changes right over there. And thank you for bearing with me. Again, raw, uncut, you're seeing everything happen live. This is great that we're learning together. And also it kind of reinforces the fact that even if you don't know what you're doing, you can figure it out with our software. It was that simple. So let me add in an individual, right? I'm going to say we're going to choose Jane Doe. They're going to be 30 years old. They're going to be female. Are they accessible? Yes. See how that changed color? We set that expression together in the status board. If I press no, you're going to see that now they are good to go. They don't require accessibility. And you're noticing that there's a grouping up here for no. So let's say that I added another individual and I just wanted to maybe name them Brian Wilson because I love Dwight Schrute from The Office. We're going to say that we're going to make Brian a little bit younger. We're going to name him 26. We're going to make him a male. And we're going to make him yes. So again, separate category, but let's say I change that to no. We have that automatic grouping function. Now, what we're going to do is when I jump into shelter here, you see a list of all the shelters that I created. And that was from that relationship field. Sometimes variables and relationships can be a little bit daunting, but as you saw, it was setting the relationship, naming it whatever logic variable you choose, and then choosing that end location. So let's say I'm going to choose the Queens one because we were looking at Queens before. Jane Doe is now in Queens. If I go to Brian Wilson, and again, I just opened up his form here, and I'm going to say maybe he's going to the test shelter. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to import these layers here just to show you, again, we're looking at Queens and our test shelter. Actually, our test shelter may not have a location. Let's do PS 107 Queens here. So I'm going to see if we get PS. Let me do it. It's a little bit sensitive. PS 107 Queens. Great. So if we see here, 2 people, 2 different locations right in our software. If I go back to hurricane evacuation shelters and I open right here, list of individuals, I have 2 individuals, although they are not exactly connected to shelter, which means I'd have to go back and fix a specific field. You have an option of loading these people in, where you can track that they're going to be tracked in these shelters. Thank you so much for the notification of the last 15 minutes. So although this wasn't the exact execution of what I was hoping for in the live stream, again, everything can be found out in the Help Center, and you can watch our review videos, and you can always reach out to us for questions. But you can see the basic functionality of how you can connect different items throughout our entire software. Now, given our last 15 minutes, I'm going to also show some other status boards just for your interest. We have Community Lifelines, which allows you to track community lifelines and import specific lifelines that are relevant to your agency. And again, you can download this from our website as an extension pack. I also newly created the Continuity of Operations extension pack, so you can track continuity in your agency as well, very similarly, where you have a FEMA coded form and you can track all the information of continuity. When you're thinking about a hurricane, community lifelines, continuity, all very important. But then also, for example, damage assessment. If we were to add in specific damage assessment items, which we can also do from the field. So what I'm going to do very quickly, again, I know we're getting towards the end of our time here, but I'm going to show you how easy it is to update information from the phone to the EOC and our document. So the status boards have a lot of flexibility in being both mobile and in the EOC. If I open up this live stream demo in my phone application for this specific incident, and I go to damage assessment, I see that form there. Again, what we have is that I'm not touching my computer. Everything is going to be on my phone. I'm going to update the municipality to be town name 2. I'm going to update the insurance coverage to say yes. Update the property to say rented. type, we're going to say multifamily. You see how those little tiny tidbits are coming in live time from my phone as if I'm out in the field. And lastly, let's just update some photos. So what we'll do is we'll take a photo of video. I'm going to take a photo of my face. Looking great today. And you're going to see my lovely selfie upload in this form in just a split second. So save that for your mantles, everybody. What we have is a really great connection of flexibility from the phone to the EOC, where you can update information, again, ridiculously simply. Even if there are hiccups, obstacles, mistakes, you can always catch up, you can work efficiently, and that's why we're uncomplicated software. So moving forward with our last few items, and I do want to leave some more time for comments. And yes, Amy, please flash up the comments while I'm finishing up these last few items. As I previously presented, we have weather. Oh, okay, we're going to pop them up right here. Here we go. Hold on. Let me take a quick pause here. From Drew Madison, we're going to switch gears to questions. I understand that you can track training and certifications. So if you have a data set with persons that have completed ICS 400, you can use them to populate specific roles from the drop-down list. Yes, absolutely, Drew. So this is actually part of our personnel and training module. Right now, we're looking at the incident management module, so I won't be able to jump into personnel and training, but correct. You can track qualifications at different granularities and different expectations in our personnel and training module, which of course in any follow-up emails we'll be able to provide those links so you can do more research on your own to learn more about that specific function. But great point. Thank you very much. Yes, you can organize them by groups and plug them in. Drew Madison, can you set roles to need certain certifications? Yes. So what I would recommend is, again, tying in that personnel and training module, you can create specific groups that have those qualifications. So that way, when you tie in and automatically connect your personnel and training module to the incident management module that I'm reviewing today, you can have that specific group ready to assign and launch based off of that qualification. Great. Thomas, love the sneak peek at the API. Might make for a great session in the future. Absolutely, Thomas. That is my goal long term, to kind of make the APIs more approachable. I know it's such a sore point for a lot of customers, so I'm hoping to kind of really distill that down in the coming months to make it really simple for most of our customers. So hopefully with our collaborative community, we can put something together to make it nicely accessible for everybody. Larry French, can somebody without a D4H login complete forms and the status boards be shared outside D4H publicly? The status boards can be shared. Somebody without a D4H login complete the forms. They would need to have that access to the incident. They don't necessarily need to have a D4H account, but they need to have some user registration with our software to be able to come in and edit. But then you can also edit the permission profiles to allow them to edit different types. So the short answer, yes. The long answer is a little more nuanced in terms of setting up the permission profiles and making sure that person can actually log in and edit the forms. Now, what we'll do for the status boards, again, stay with me, everybody. We're going to briefly change gears before I close out a lot of these few items here. But let's say I wanted to share that hurricane evacuation shelter form. Same way. If I wanted to just share this form, again, similar options: print to PDF, share by email, share by public link. If I wanted to share the entire thing, the entire status board of this tabular view, we can always export, again, print to PDF, export, or share by email. So different views, different options for sharing. Great. Let's wrap up, as some other comments might be coming in towards the end of this live stream. But we're going back to weather. You have a fully functional weather outlook already built into our system. Now, keep in mind, you might be looking at the metric system. If you are based in the US, your software will be translated to the imperial system. So no worry about learning centigrade or any sort of other metric measurements. We also have a library where you can statically upload forms. So if you have procedures, manuals, references you want your individuals to actually look at throughout the entire hurricane response. For example, I uploaded a hurricane emergency action plan that I just pulled from Google. And it's not more so an emergency action plan as it is more of a what to do before a hurricane hits. But the point being, it's a static document where you can log, document, archive, have a static option for all of your individuals. Now, what I'll briefly blow through, I also have tasks and logs. So this tracks the actual checklist and operational steps within an incident. I preloaded in checklists. We have specific steps for each checklist. We can update each of the statuses for them, and you're going to see them actually update in the audit trail over here. But then also I can start to assign people to these task lists. So either from role or from previously assigned individuals. So again, I'm assigning myself and I'm assigning other individuals. And what we can also do is we can tag people in our software within these checklists or just in general. So I can say at safety officer, please complete the safety plan. So now the safety officer is notified. I can amplify that notification that they need to complete this checklist, and we can track the operational steps. And if I wanted a larger view, we can go to the logs, see that communication come in live time if you're just looking at it from a 10,000 point view. And then you can also filter it by different queries if needed. You can also jump to the actual query itself, where we say that the safety officer is looking in this checklist to provide a safety plan. Give it a click, and you're going right to that location. Lastly, in terms of the logs here, we talked about weather. I'm going to send this weather widget to our log, and you're going to see that now I have marked all of our weather in our log. So all in all, for these last little bits, you have great situational awareness in terms of logging, documenting, tracking, lifetime updates, again, all at your fingertips. And although this was a specific hurricane example, this can be applied to wildfires, to heat emergencies, to floods. You have a lot of flexibility and versatility in terms of creating those plans that mean the most to you to accomplish that efficient emergency management. Lastly, as we come full circle for the incident management module for this hurricane application, we have our dashboard. Now, again, all these tiles and options can be customized. So if you see here, my tasks, this is assigned to me. I can see I have one in progress. I made the hurricane evacuation shelters and the damage assessment a little more colorful than maybe the MTA alerts, which just shows me a 54 count of specific alerts. So again, there's a lot of different options to make this a little more in detail or present different items. A great example is Amy, if you would actually move my camera one more time. Down below here with the resource request, I created a special formula to allow to track for how many minutes since our last resource request. So if I click the resource request and we jumped into here, we have a 213RR broken down into a status board to track those requests live times. I also created other options to allow for other organizations to sign off when they're ready. So if you notice, if I press no, finance can't sign off. If I press no, logistics can't sign off, and vice versa. But then if I were to update the date and time to, let's say, a few hours before, let's say it was 8 a.m. today, and now that's saved, and we've logged in this resource, I go to dashboard, you're going to see that our last resource was 294 minutes, or roughly 4 hours ago. So again, a lot of ability to jump between the different statuses, the different forms, you're clicking buttons. There's no absurd coding or no absurd steps. And that's the whole conclusion of why D4H is uncomplicated software. And this is a phenomenal software to allow for your hurricane evacuations, especially with our Atlantic outlook this season, to make your operations and response ridiculously easy. So I'm going to pause here for 5 minutes since we've gone through a whirlwind of a demo with both me losing connection, the live stream freezing, maybe not having a perfect execution on the status boards, but you've seen all the functionality you need to make that decision of, is D4H right for you? So again, D4H being the emergency management software, completely uncomplicated, really straightforward, allows you to do everything at your fingertips. Thank you so much for joining this demo. So I'll pause here for 5 minutes. I'll just chill around for a little bit, see if any last comments or questions come in from the chat, and maybe a little bit of awkward silence as I am just sitting here. But otherwise, thank you all again for joining. This demo will be recorded, so you'll be able to review it and reference it at any time once it is posted. Additionally, Amy, if you don't mind throwing up my email on the screen, if anyone has any questions, any feedback, any ideas, I'd love to collaborate. I'd love to hear from you. Send me an email, connect with me on LinkedIn. You know where to find me. My email is right there. And I'd be more than happy to talk about how to help you be better prepared for hurricane season or just different incidents in general. So again, I'll just kind of thank you, Scott. Appreciate it. Good to hear from you. I might just ramble on a little bit just to fill the empty silence, but I think we'll give it about a minute and a half, a minute. If nothing comes over, then we'll just end it a little bit early. But what we will do is let me just close out some tabs here. Maybe I'll go back to the map since that was kind of pretty just to close out my own little browser here. Drew Madison, you show that you can send a task to a person. Does it track the tasking and mark it completed? Correct. So that's a manual function where they can actually update the task and change that status as it progresses. So you can document that, you can track that, you have that accessibility in the software. Thank you very much, TJ. I'll be in contact as well about that API. Don't worry, I have not forgotten about that. Great. I'm getting the go-ahead from our marketing manager and executive producer extraordinaire, Amy, that we are good to go on this live stream. Thank you all very much again for tuning in today. And hopefully, I hope to hear from you soon. But thank you again for supporting D4H and best of luck this hurricane season.